Amy, good morning.
Good morning.
We have a pretty interesting session coming up next week on education and competitiveness, and I think we chose purposely a very somewhat provocative title, calling it "The End of the American Century." I wondered if you would explain a little bit what's behind this particular event, and in particular some of the speakers that are coming,
sure.
And then maybe the Global Higher Ed Project.
Sure. Well, interestingly, the title has a question mark at the end of it. The End of American
That's
Century,
right.
question
That's
mark.
right.
So it's an open discussion, open debate. And the speakers we have are phenomenal. They will reflect on that question from a number of regional perspectives, and including China, Southeast Asia, Middle East, and North America, of course, the U.S. The question, at the end of the American century, arises certainly from the press that we've seen lately, and the feeling that we've experienced of where is higher education going in the U.S. and in the world, and where does the U.S. stand in relation to changes going on in the world. Certainly one of the questions comes down to funding for public higher education. And as particularly certain countries and certain regions are increasing funding for public higher education, we're feeling that quite markedly, particularly in areas of research, in student support. And it's a question we want to ask. Does this question of funding affect the quality of U.S. public higher education?
Absolutely, because in some ways we feel, as we travel around the world, we feel that other governments or institutions are certainly putting a lot of attention and a lot of funds into building world-class institutions, oftentimes looking at world-class institution after the American model.
Right.
And I think we were struck by this dichotomy. On the one hand, a lot of institutions around the world building up their capacity for education and research to really world-class standards. And on the other hand, when you come back to the United States, a wave of defunding of higher education, and maybe the sense that somewhere, somehow, people have lost a little bit the sense of how important a role higher education play in competitiveness, and particularly as you were mentioning the research and innovation,
right.
And the whole talent development, the whole incubating global talent for
right.
Future leaders and innovators. And we got a sense that maybe there's been a loss of sight of how critical higher education has been.
Yeah, I think it's something we take for granted. When it goes away, we feel it more than we understand and appreciate it when we have it so strongly supported. And as you said, this idea of incubation, universities are phenomenal institutions because we educate the next generation. We have an open atmosphere here for knowledge, for inquiry. I think it's quite useful to have colleagues internationally, and so the building up of universities internationally is also to our advantage and to everyone's advantage, because we have international interlocutors and collaborators, and that's key. The question is, where will the sites of research be, and who will be sort of raising the questions and answering the questions, and then thirdly, who will be translating some of those answers into practical applications. And universities have historically played a key role in the translation of knowledge into practical application, and so that's something that we are interested in following and hoping that we can continue to play that kind of lead internationally.
Exactly, and I think the fact that we have distinguished speakers from 3 areas of the world who also have significant policy experience at the UNESCO makes it all the more interesting.
I think it's key, and also, so 2 of those 4 speakers, 2 of the 3 speakers have connections with UW-Madison. They are alumni of UW-Madison who have gone on to lead institutions around the world, including international organizations, as you mentioned, UNESCO and others. We have a 3rd colleague coming from Zhejiang University, China, who is interested in collaborating and partnering with us, both for student exchange and also for research. And we have the Dean of the School of Education here. So 3 of the 4 speakers are, in a sense, Badgers. They're UW-Madisonians, as I see it. And they see themselves that way, too. And we have an opportunity for this 4th person from Zhejiang to bring him into our global community of scholars and researchers.
And this is an opportunity for us to educate some opinion leaders here through our speakers, for them to get a better sense of how fast the world is moving into that direction and how much certain areas of the world are investing, and that's going to change the landscape
Frankly,
of higher education.
I think that's one of the most exciting things of this panel on July 26th, 3:30, is the chance to break down what is sometimes perceived as the ivory tower walls. I mean, higher education is not an island unto itself. It's very much connected with local, national, and global communities and markets, and we're looking forward. I'm looking forward to that opportunity this next Tuesday.
That's right. We've built it as really a meeting of town and gown in some ways, allowing some of the cutting edge information that the speakers and our own speakers will bring to be able to be shared with some key opinion leaders and have also their feedback on this. This is part of a larger project, which is, we feel as an institution that's very much globally connected through its alumni, through its research, that we have to take the lead in showing some key aspects of the transformation of higher education through global trends and global forces.
Yeah, in fact, and I would also want to stress that it's an opportunity for our students who are on campus, and many of them are in the summer, graduate and undergraduate students, to see the world through the eyes of these presenters, the alumni, the guest speakers, and the townspeople who are there sharing with the view of how the university fits into the world at large. So it's an important, I think, event for all involved.
No, absolutely. And I have a feeling increasingly we see this global footprint, a global connection, not so much to be just one activity of the university, but more and more moving centrally into what is going to define preeminence as a research university in the decade to come. As you said, research now is really done everywhere in the world, and discoveries and innovation are multi-centered, and our ability to tap into this is going to be essential.
Indeed, yeah, and so the research is multi-centered, the educational aspects of higher education are multi-centered, whether through teleconferencing or through actual study abroad. Our students increasingly are very aware of that. This panel also helps us to kick off, in a sense, the fall series of global studies in higher education speakers. We have a number of other events scheduled for the fall, and we couldn't think of a better way with Interim Chancellor David Ward back on campus to offer his thoughts on this timely topic of education and competitiveness, and the various speakers who we have set up for the remainder of the year will in some ways touch on that topic as well.
Great. So it's the first conversation in a series.
Indeed.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.